Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chineke Kajetan Goodluck, representing this highly prestigious university, Karoli Gasper University of the Reformed Church in Hungary. Today, I am presenting a case study on a critical issue within the Nigerian education system on the factors contributing to English language underperformance in secondary schools, specifically focusing on the Ojego local government area in Enugu State. I know that most of you will be interested to know why I narrowed the topic down to Ojego and hear my reasons. I chose the Ojego government area actually because it serves as a representative microcosm of the Nigerian educational landscape. It also contains a mix of urban and rural settings. In the schools, there is the exact interplay of the factors we are about to enumerate, which have included limited resources, high maritime dominance, and even socioeconomic diversity that we see nationwide. So by narrowing the scope, I was able to conduct a deep description and a mixed merit analysis that wouldn't just be possible at the national level, while still providing findings that are transferable to similar regions in Enugu State and Nigeria. The second reason is based on the fact that Ojeriver local government have high data quality and reliability. As an exploratory case study, it was really vital to have access to stakeholders, the student teachers and administrators who were willing to provide honest qualitative feedback via interviews, and the high response rates, nearly 90%, and the cooperation of the post-primary schools management board in Enugu State allow for a robust data set that accurately reflects the systemic issues mentioned in my finding. Again, my choice was also informed by a preliminary observation of the specific underperformance trends in that zone, as seen in the National Examination Council data for the Model Comprehensive Boys Secondary School in which was where I had my secondary education. So there was a visible fluctuation of English credit courses that demanded investigation, and focusing on Java allowed me to bridge the gap between abstract national statistics and the lived reality of the classroom. To guide our discussion further, I have structured this presentation into 8 key areas. We will begin with the multilingual context of Nigeria, then move through my conceptual framework and methodology, and finally conclude with the qualitative and quantitative findings that lead to our pathways forward. Now on Nigerian background. Of course, it is really interesting to hear that Nigeria is often described as a multilingual mosaic with over 500 indigenous languages. While the English serves as the sole official language of instruction, it is rarely the language of the home. This creates a disconnect. And according to second language acquisition theory, success rarely requires comprehensive input and social mediation elements that are often missing outside the school gates. Now the problem, the national examination on the performance. The data paints a sobering picture, as you can see here on the slide, that in 2025, only about 38% of the West African Examination Council candidates earned the 5 credits necessary for higher education mobility out of 1.9 million candidates that sat for this exam. And now looking at the specific case on the INI, we see persistent fluctuation and low credit pass rates. This underperformance is just not a grade, but it is a barrier to the future of millions of students. Now this also led to my real purpose and hypothesis, which the aim of the study, like I have put together, is to identify the perceived sociolinguistic, pedagogical, and institutional factors driving this trend. My central hypothesis is that proficiency is not determined by a single issue, but it is the result of a systemic interaction between a student's exposure, the teacher's practice, and available resources. Down to my conceptual framework, as shown in this framework, we are looking at four independent variables: a social-linguistic exposure, the pedagogical practices, the resources, and the socioeconomic status. These are all mediating factors through English proficiency to ultimately impact academic performance. It is a chain reaction where a failure in one link weakens the whole in general. Now, this is my methodology. I employed a mixed methods design. I collected quantitative data from nearly 200 valid student responses through structured questionnaires and conducted qualitative semi-structured interviews with teachers to capture the voices from the classroom. On the results and findings, quantitative results now. Quantitatively, like all the four factors correlate significantly with proficiency, with institutional resources being the strongest predictor. However, an interesting finding emerged from the ANOVA analysis where stakeholders don't see eye to eye on the courses. Students point to home exposure, teachers focus on instructional methods, and administrators highlight funding, especially as essential mediators. Everyone still sees this problem through a different lens. Based on the qualitative themes, discussions, and finding, the teacher reviews during the interview the lived reality of these tasks. For instance, one of those teachers mentioned, and I quote, "We do not speak English at home," and the other teacher said, "There are no language labs." As we interpret these findings, actually, it becomes clear that underperformance is systemic. It confirms Krashen's impute hypothesis. Without really impute a meaningful interaction, learners face a ceiling that they cannot break through, regardless of their motivation. Quite interesting. Due to these issues, problems, and challenges confronting the proficiency in English language, a second language acquisition, here comes my recommendations and conclusion. So, where are the pathways forward in this? We really need a systemic response for a systemic problem of search. This means policymakers treating resource gaps as an equity issue, teachers shifting to learner-centered pedagogy, and communities encouraging English use beyond school hours. Isolated reforms will not close the gap. We need coordinated action anchored in the multilingual reality of these learners. And finally, I want to specifically thank my good professor, the supervisor of this program, Dr. Maria Adrian, and all of you for paying adequate attention to this presentation. And now welcome your questions and look forward to our discussion. Thank you once again. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Chineke Kajetan-Goodluck, representing this highly prestigious university, Karoli Gasper University of the Reformed Church in Hungary. Today, I am presenting a case study on a critical issue within the Nigerian education system on the factors contributing to English language underperformance in secondary schools, specifically focusing on the Ojego local government area in Enugu State. I know that most of you will be interested to know why I narrowed the topic down to